morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Glad you could all make it today. Today's topic is giving. It's a critical topic for the church. What time do we have?
9:53.
9:53? So that's about 8 minutes, right? That should be enough time. That should be enough time to get started. Let us start off with prayer. Father in heaven, thanks for allowing us the strength to come together this morning to study your word so that we can continue to improve our spiritual relationship with you. And we ask that you watch over those brothers and sisters that are on the way here. And we ask that you also watch over the sick and shut in that would like to be here but couldn't make it today. In Jesus' name, I offer this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
So, I don't know where we are. Does everyone have this booklet?
We have a booklet.
Can you, thanks. Share. Brother Meadows doesn't have a book.
No, they can share.
Oh,
They
okay.
can share.
I can read this.
Okay,
Oh.
he's good.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. In this book, this Flex book, The Church of Christ in the 21st Century, we're on page 65. That's lesson 11. That's what we're going over today. I gotta get a paper towel.
That's good. We know about this.
Oh, what's the camera for? Want to take some pictures of
Yeah, that's so I can see what I look like. Okay, lesson 11, committing our lives, giving. So I'm going to read through this warm-up here. I guess you can follow along with me on page 65. There are several denominational churches around the country that have begun experimenting with drive-in worship services. Their expressed intent is to be evangelistic. Since many unchurched people have anxiety about entering a building for a worship service or being dressed appropriately, this enables people to attend without even getting out of their car. They pull up into a parking spot and keep the car running with the air conditioning cranked up. They tune into their radios to a specific station and listen to the sermon. When the sermon is done, they head home. No interactions with other people are required. As one who has not attended any such gathering, I do not wish to offer an uninformed critique of this approach. I will, however, ask this question. Did God really intend that a Christian's commitment to Him would not require any discomfort, sacrifice, or imposition? Our tendencies in this 21st century toward individualism and materialism make it hard for us to embrace what it really means for Jesus to be Lord of our lives. Matthew, and they reference Matthew 19:24. And then it says, Christ's path is a difficult path. Matthew 7:13 and 14. Though working around other Christians can be wonderful, it is also exasperating some of the time. Just the same, God expects us to love each other sincerely and cooperate as brothers and sisters. And they reference Romans 12:9 to 13. Honoring God requires us to make sacrifices. we worship God by giving, both in our weekly assembly and in our actions the rest of the time. So when I read that, the thoughts that came to my mind was how technology is creating an environment that we don't interact with each other. So people want to text, they don't want to talk, because talking is not as efficient of their time. So they're always trying to get more done per hour, per day, or whatever. So they'll send a text message off, and then they'll come back later to see what the response was, rather than pick up the phone and have a conversation. So this technology is driving us to come closer together in real time with many people, but at the same time, it's making us grow apart. So then, if we're growing apart, then we really can't help each other as good as we would if we interacted with each other, because it's the one-on-one interaction where it allows us to see each other's faults and sort of cheer each other on, lift each other up to improve ourselves. So if I send you a text message, Brother Matthews, it's like you can't see some of the stuff that my face may show. My face may show that I didn't get enough sleep, or I'm not eating properly, or I'm worried, or some of those things. None of those aspects of my being come through in a text message. Sometimes a text message will pick up some things, but so when I read that, I'm just thinking that the technology is removing a lot of the human interaction that we get from looking at each other's face and eyes and listening to the voice, all of that. So then we're getting limited in how we can help each other, and that's what it's all about as we walk through these days, is to lift each other up so that we can all be successful in reaching heaven. So I don't know, that's my thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts along those lines, or any comments, any more comments on that?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because just yesterday, Sade and I was studying a paper that she had wrote at school, and we were thinking about the same thing, how science and everything is taking us away from things like writing, reading, understanding, and communicating with people. And we were saying that it is actually getting us to a point where we don't need anyone.
That's right.
All we need is ourself and our text and our email and our computer. And I know that I am a victim of that, because now in the type of job that I'm in, I don't have to deal with people all day, just communicate until I have to take them out. That's when I get a chance to see what they're about, how I can really help them, because then I'm interacting directly with them. So,
yeah, I happen to know something about that, because many times I'm there with you. So what I notice is that you get the relationship started through email or whatever.
Yes.
But you don't really solidify the relationship until we meet them in person.
That's right.
And then we can get to know about their background, what country they came from, or what state they grew up in, and all of those things.
Absolutely.
And having something in common with them allows us to develop a trust
Yes.
that they will let us guide them to finding their next house, because they have to trust us. It's hard to do that through texting and email. They can't tell anything about our personality in text and email.
That's true.
Okay. So the next section is, you have a book, Brother Mumford?
No, it's all up here.
Oh, okay. The next section is this workout. It says, this lesson, by the way, is on giving, if you didn't know.
Okay, thank you.
I'll read through this workout. Make it easier on you guys. You just follow along. One of the great lessons of having your first job is the value of time. My first job was at a grocery store, sacking groceries and retrieving shopping carts. There had been many things I imagined myself buying with my new income. But after exchanging many hours of my time, talents, and energy for a little over a minimum wage, my perspectives shifted quickly. I began to realize that a $20 CD or a $100 coat represented much more to me than just the money they cost. They would represent a part of my life that I had given in exchange for them. In the end, the greatest treasure we have to give is our time. How we use this time will determine almost everything else about us. Jesus had a lot to say about what we are to do with our treasure. In particular, he taught that wherever our treasure is also where our heart will be. And they reference Matthew 6:19-24. It is not enough to have occasional fond feelings about God or the church. If you really want to love God, you must commit to him what is most precious to you. If your time, family, money, health, and talents are committed primarily to the Lord, there is no doubt your heart will be there too. If you put yourself to the test on this point, it can be eye-opening. In the great judgment scene of mankind, depicted in Revelation 20:11-13, there are books opened up and examined in light of the book of life. Have you ever pondered what might be in these books? I have imagined a great detailed biography of my life that God would read through. But what if the contents in your book were not recorded like a story at all? What if your book contained nothing other than your bank account transactions? Could God look how you have used your money and tell that you are a Christian? What if the book of your deeds consisted entirely of your daily schedule, or your phone records, or your electronic communications? Would church appear to be your priority, or would it be the thing you occasionally squeeze in? Would your communication be full of gossip and criticism, or would it be full of compassion and encouragement? Through examining any of these things, is it possible to tell that you are a person who is committed to Christ above all else? Is it possible to tell that you have no priority greater than seeking Christ's kingdom and his righteousness? In reference Matthew 6:33. Many of us give sparingly to kingdom causes because our money is so tied up in our loan payments, our indulgent appetites, and our entertainment. What we claim is the high cost of living might actually be just the cost of living the high life. Most of us have more than we should want, and certainly much more than we need. Giving should involve sacrifice. In Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis said this about giving to God: there ought to be things we should like to do and cannot do because our charitable expenditures exclude them. So that was a good description of the issues that we face with our finances and with our time. And we know we don't have any new converts here today. Those of us here, we know that God is supposed to be the most important thing in our life, and followed by loving our neighbors, our families. It's supposed to be the next most important thing. So that in itself would suggest that when it comes to giving, that after we receive monies, that God should be thought of first. If he's first in our life, then we would think of him when we first get the paycheck. Yeah, go ahead and start that.
So it's like the warm-up is a kind of an analogy for the way we treat God as far as giving and sacrifice, because the way we treat people, like we don't have enough time for them to ask them how they're doing and actually care and have a real conversation with them and talk to them one-on-one. but we're too busy, texting and multitasking and doing all that. It's like an analogy of the way we treat God when, we're spending money and time on all these other things and we don't have enough time to, 5 or 10 minutes.
That's right.
So the way
That's
we treat
right.
people is just reflecting the way we treat God.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking several days back that, especially when it comes to Christians, we have to remember that God lives in each one of us. So how we treat each other. So in other words, when I'm talking to you, because God is in you, I'm actually speaking before God. So it's like, so I can't mistreat you and think that there's no connection between you and God. Sometimes I think people forget that all Christians are connected to God. So how we treat each other, God is right there. God is all present, all knowing. He sees everything, especially if you're a Christian, he's seeing it through his people. So how you treat his people is going to let him know what's really inside of you, because only what's in you can come out. So, if you're mistreating his people, then he sees that while you're doing it. And, we have to remember that always when we deal with God's people, that he's present in them as well as us.
That's why. With the Apostle Paul, for example, he had a letter to go down and bind Christians, Damascus. The Lord arrested him. He said, why are you persecuting me? Persecuting Christ is, as you say, persecuting his people. Persecuting Christ.
Yeah.
That's the relationship you're seeing.
Thank you. See, I haven't gotten to the point where I know where everything is. I'm to the point where I understand the concepts, but to call verses and to call chapters and verses, it's going to take me a little time.
You get there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Also, when I was reading this, I thought it would be good to remind ourselves, since on this subject of giving, let's take a look at Genesis chapter 1 and see the original giver, how much he gave all of us. Basically, he gave us everything that we had. So that should motivate us in ourselves. Like most of us that are adults, when we were growing up, our parents hopefully provided for us, gave us a place to stay, clothes to wear, food to eat, and many of us had thoughts of, one day when I get on my feet, I'm going to do something for them. And that's just a psyche in us, that we want to do good things for people that are good to us, because it's easy. It's easy. If someone is nice to you, it's easy for you to be nice back to them. So I thought that it's good to remember where everything that we have, everything that we enjoy, came from God. So to return him the fruits of our labor, a portion of the fruits of our labor, should be easy for us to do. So let's read alternately chapter 1. Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament of the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so.
And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so.
And God called the dry land earth, and the
gathered together the waters called the seas.
And God saw that it was good.
And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so.
And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his time. And God saw that it was good.
And in the evening, the morning were the third day.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
And God made two great lights, the greater lights to rule the day, and the lesser lights to rule the night. He made the stars also.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven.
And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth.
And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, let
the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so.
And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
And God said, let us make man in our image, and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the earth, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, where there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so.
And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So we just went through testimony that everything that we have, everything that we experience through our five senses, God created before he created us.
Yes.
So he created this whole world and other planets as well to support us. Then he created us to manage this environment that he created. So then, we stand here on God's world, eating his food, managing his animals, and sometimes don't think to return the profit from our labor to him so that his church can manage its business. This is a new day that we're in now. It takes money every time we leave home. It's like, you know, you can't, you know, back maybe 100 years ago, you know, you could probably manage a few weeks without any money at all, you know, because everyone had their vegetable garden. You know, if you go visit your friend, you know, you could eat a cantaloupe or whatever, or pluck you a cucumber from their vegetable garden. You could just walk around and manage without any cash in your pocket. Those days have pretty much gone. It's like if you are driving your car, every time the engine turns over, it's using gas. It's clogging up the filters. So you got to put the gas in there to keep it running. So you can pretty much figure how much it costs every time that engine turns over. Whether it's a penny or 2 pennies or whatever it is, there's a cost associated with that. So, you know, it's hard to even leave home, you know, without spending money. So then the point I'm getting at is that all of us, you know, have to, you know, work to pay our expenses just to survive. It's not like the original environment that God created. We didn't need money. You know, all we needed to do was till the land and, you know, maybe catch an animal or whatever to eat. But now with this specialization era that we're in, where, you know, we have specialists now, you know, with special skills to support each other. So one person grows the food, another one makes the clothes, another one, you know, makes the furniture or whatever. So then, you know, money was created so that we can exchange goods and services with each other. So this environment that we live in forces us to go to work and get skills so that we can go to work to make money. So then we have to remember that that money is no different than it was for Cain and Abel, you know, growing their crops. Now, most of us are not making things to give back to God. You know, we are perform our labor when during our work, and we get paid money to do that. So that is the fruit of our labor. It's the money that we make. So when we make the money, we have to remember that that money came from this world that God created, okay? So the money, you know, like not many people are just giving us money free for nothing. We have to do something. So we have to perform some service or some labor. And that money is coming from God's world, okay? Even if it's not coming from a godly person. Because we started from God created everything, okay? So God created everything means that everything that we get from this world is by the grace of God, okay? So that is the thing for us to remember, that everything that we get, every breath of air that we take, every drink of water that we take, all food, every meal that we eat, it all comes to us by the grace of God, no different than from the beginning. So I think, you know, sometimes the intelligentsia, whatever, you know, get so intelligent that they forget Genesis chapter 1, where it all started from. You know, God created it all. If God created it all, then everything that we have was given to us by the grace of God. To tell you one more thought I have. Good morning. One more thought I have is that there's one word that man uses very loosely, and that's called create. You know, create. Yeah, man hasn't created anything, but man likes to make himself feel good and say that he created things, like he created the airplane. You know, it's like, what did he use to make the airplane? He used metal that came out of the ground that God created. So he didn't create the airplane. He took the metal from the ground. He took materials from other parts of God's world and figured out how to put them together in such a way that this machine would fly. But he didn't create it. It's like a cook. A good cook knows how to mix up spices and things to make things taste good, but they're not really creating anything, you know. And it's like, so they know how to mix things together to make a cake taste good, or you know, to make a chicken taste good or whatever. But they didn't really create anything. So, but people, you know, man, in his self-esteem, push for more and greater self-esteem, to pat himself on the back, has started to say that he's creating things, and he's not acknowledging Genesis chapter 1. All things were created by God. Man is only learning the tip of the surface of what God put together. So basically, up to this point in time, as far as science goes, man is basically learning how God's system in this world works. So many of the things, like the camera only copies what God created in our eyes. Okay, so the man copied the eyeball that God created from the human being and used that to create cameras. The lens in the camera is nothing but a copy of how the eyeball works. That's just one example. The airplane I was just talking about, that was just a copy of the way the bird's wing is shaped. So man look at things that God created and then make a copy of that and then say he created something. No, he's just copying. He's just copying from God. So anyway, what's their hand? Sade, you forgot?
No, you said it.
I didn't stop? Oh, okay.
You kept going and you said it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we can look all around us. Most of the great inventions were or are just copies of what God created in the natural environment. So the plane copied from the bird's wing, the camera copied from the man's eye. And even now, you know, man tries to say that computers are thinking machines. They're not really thinking machines because they are more like robots. You know, they'll do specific things that they've been programmed to do. They are still at the level where decisions that they make are very simple decisions. But even those decisions have been pre-programmed. So that the programmer has said, if this happens, then you do this. If that happens, you do this. So those machines are not really thinking. They're just responding to situations that may come up while that program is running. So, you know, that was an attempt to make a machine work similar to a brain, the way the brain does. But we're still, fortunately, we're still a long ways off from that coming to reality. And that is going to be a scary day when it comes, that machines are running around thinking. I mean, we kind of gotten a warning already from movies like The Matrix, you know, movies like that. And there's been a lot of movies like that where the machines take a life on their own. You know, they start recreating themselves, you know. So that's going to be a scary day because man does not have the wisdom that God has to create machines that can think by themselves. So any attempt that man is going to make because of his sinful nature, any attempt that man makes to create a thinking machine is going to be destructive. And that's the one thing that I forgot to say when I was talking about creation. Man hasn't created anything. Only thing man has learned to do is destroy. Man has gotten very good at destroying what God created.
Amen.
You hear it you see it every day on the news. It's destroying, destruction, one form or another. So man is not the creator. That's the point I wanted to make. Man is the destructor. So everything that we, this lifestyle that we live in, it has some comfort to it, but then when you stand back and look, it's very destructive. So it's cooling off in here now, you know? So that air conditioner is burning energy that's releasing poisons up into the air that are affecting the plants' growth that God created. So we can feel comfortable and stop sweating, you know, because I'm hot. but that comfort comes with a price. And it's the same when we drive around in our cars, you know. These cars are taking from the earth things that God created. It's taking it and releasing poisons in the air that affect the plants that we turn around and eat. So then over time, new illnesses keep coming up because man keeps finding new ways to repackage the elements that God put in the earth. So each time he does that, you know, oh, I just created something new. Oh, you mean you just repackaged something new? And years later, we find that that product that was created resulted in many people's illnesses. Okay, so that's just some of my thoughts about man thinking that he's created something. How we doing with time?
10:29.
Oh, 15 minutes. Okay. Did you restart that? Oh, okay. All right, that's good. You're a good assistant. So, I'm going to read this cool down now on page 68. From the early days of the church, Christians have used the weekly Christian assemblies as a time to take a financial collection. 1 Corinthians 16, 1-3. Some will make comments pointing out that the contribution is separate and apart from the Lord's Supper. However, even though these are separate items, we should understand that our giving to God is every bit as much a part of worshiping God as the Lord's Supper, our singing and our praying. So this is we're getting to the heart of the discussion, which was about giving itself. Back in the Old Testament, there was a command to the people to pay tithe, which was 10% of the fruits of their labor. Jesus came, he changed that law to say let each one give as he purposes in his heart. So Jesus removed the burden of having to give a fixed amount, 10%, to giving an amount that shows how grateful we are to God. So as each individual, you know, that could be 1%, 10%, 20, 30%, whatever that individual, his relationship to God is. Okay, brother.
You said a man of the Old Testament?
I'm sorry?
You said back in a man of the Old Testament?
No, command.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
command.
Yeah, I have a combination of North Carolina and New Jersey accent.
Oh.
So I don't always pronounce all of my words completely. That's something that I have to work on. You know, now that other people are listening. I have to always remember to pronounce every syllable. Yeah. But yeah, command. I was saying it was a command from the Old Testament to pay 10%. But I did pick out a few verses in the New Testament, which is what we follow. If you can turn with your Bibles to 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1. It says, now concerning the collection for the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, so you also are to do. On the first day of every week, each of you is to put something aside and store it up, as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come. So the key here is to make an offering as you prosper. So the thing is that, you know, the people that prospering the most should offer the most, is the concept that's written here. Any comments here? I guess everybody here is an experienced Christian, been walking for a while. So, yeah, go ahead, brother.
I would like to say that, you know, sometimes we always, when we think about giving, we always think of monetarily. But God, in Romans 12, says that make your life be a living sacrifice, holy and blameless to God, with reasonable service. So a lot of us vary as far as our income, whatever. God is concerned with your heart. You know, and your heart, if God got your heart, everything else will fall into place. You know? Just like the lady that Christ talked about, the lady with the Pharisees. The man gave a certain amount of money, but the one woman, she only gave 2 pennies, and there was a problem with that, but she gave all.
That's right.
God wants all of our heart, all
That's
of
right.
our soul, and all of our mind.
That's right.
You know,
That's
because
right.
this is, you know, money is nothing to God really, because it's His anyway.
That's
you know?
right.
That's like my daughter and stuff. You know, she wants rewards for stuff that she's supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Already. You know, so if you brush your teeth every morning, I'm supposed to give you $1.
Right.
You know, there's certain things
Right.
that we're supposed to do.
Right.
You know? And not because always a money thing. Give your heart, give your time, dedicate yourself to the Lord. And He'll take care of everything else.
Yeah, that's very good. And when I was having those same thoughts, I was thinking the complementary portion is the same. In other words, what God does for us is not always in terms of money. So, you know, just because we're giving money doesn't mean He's going to give us money back. He may give us wisdom and good health, and, you know, a good family or good friends.
He gives us a lot of air too.
I'm sorry?
He gives us a lot of air.
A lot of air, yeah, a lot of air. Yeah, so, you know, He can return the reward to us in many different ways, even spiritual growth, to allow us to see His kingdom more clear. So the reward, the tenfold increase or whatever, you know, doesn't have to be in dollars. You know, it can be in many different forms. But it's all good. Whatever form the tenfold comes in, it's all good.
That's right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was out with a client a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the economy, and I was telling her how I'll be glad when I'm able to do things and help people the way I used to and all those kind of things. And she made a statement. She said, yeah, where are those people now, you know, when you need them? And when she said that, I said to her, I said, what you don't understand is that blessings come from different people. You may give one way, but your blessing may come from someone else
That's
totally
right.
different.
That's right.
And she was sitting there, she was looking at me, and I started telling her, I said, you know, my mom died a couple of days ago. I said, and I was getting blessings from people, and people were giving me things, and I told her about the incident where someone gave me something that really helped me. And I said, and this person don't have much. I know they don't have much, but they gave to me. But I may have gave to someone else
That's right.
at some time. And she looked at me, she said, oh, you know, you're right. I never thought of it like that. So you never know, you know, where your blessing's going to come from. And it don't have to come from the same person that you may have blessed.
That's right. And that understanding that you shared with this person is going to come back to you as a blessing to you. So it's not like you don't have to always, you know, pass money from one place to another. You know, you can share wisdom, share knowledge as well. So
Yes.
now then she can take that concept that you shared with her and share it with someone else, you know? Because she was in the tit for tat mode, you
Yes,
know?
she was.
If I do something for you, you the one gotta
Yeah,
come back to
that's
me,
right.
you know?
That's right. And I'm sorry, I even explained to her because she was taking me out to lunch. I said, see, you have blessed me. I couldn't take you out to lunch today. You took me out, so you have blessed me. And she was like, oh, okay.
Okay, Brother Meadows, go ahead, Brother Meadows.
In reference to helping other people, you were already blessed when you were blessed.
Mhm.
Instead of looking for
Just
something
that ability.
else.
Yeah, that's right.
Amen.
That's right, that's right, thank you. Okay, let's close in prayer. Father in heaven, once again, thank you for allowing us to come together to study your word so that our spiritual growth will continue. And we ask that you will give us a calm mind as we move into this morning service so that we can gain more understanding about your ways. In Jesus' name, I offer this prayer. Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. It goes pretty fast once you get started. I thought an hour is a long time.
Started.